Good morning, everyone. Really exciting to be here, the Be Curious audience that you are. I'm Tom Kay, I'm the founder of Finisterre, and I'm here today to have a sort of fireside chat with Kresse from Elvis and Kresse. I think I started Finisterre in 2003, and around about then, I became aware of Elvis and Kresse and what they do. And the co-founder here was a real visionary in terms of using waste as a resource, using business to have a social purpose to it, way ahead of her time. And examples of what they do: they take old fire hose destined for landfill and repurpose it into beautiful handbags or belts or wallets. And I think over 200 tons of fire hose have been prevented from ending up in landfill. And they also donate 50% of their profits to the firefighters charity supporting those affected by fire. So real honor to be here and have a chat with you.
And I think, although Tom and I just met this morning, obviously we've been adjacent for a long time. And I'm despite wearing a sweater that Tom has lovingly made for us, we've always been fans. And I think it's because this is an island nation. And everything that Finisterre does, it's an outdoor gear company, everything they do is informed by a love of the sea. And I think if you look at their products and the product matrix that comes along, it's to help you develop a deep symbiotic relationship with the sea.
Yep.
So that's what we love about Finisterre. And we're just going to have a little conversation and ask each other a couple of questions today, which we're mutual fans, so it should be quite easy for us. But one of the things that I want to talk about, obviously, will get you to the wetsuits, is what are the boundaries you're trying to push through right now?
So I think us as a brand, as you said, our kind of vision is to connect people to the sea and use the products to enable and inspire that connection. And we believe in a world where the closer you are connected to the sea, the better the world is going to be. You're going to have a better sense of well-being, and if you get something from something, you look after it and you protect it. So that's kind of what we do as a brand. And I think the irony is one of the most beautiful things that you can do in the world, in my opinion, is get in the sea. And in many instances around the world, and particularly in the UK, you have to wear a wetsuit to get in the sea. Mm. And the wetsuit is one of the most destructive, unenvironmentally horrible products that you have to make. So this has kind of struck me about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was trying to work out how I could use the business and our outlook as a brand to do something about that. And sort of back of a fag packet calculation was 380 tons of neoprene ends up in landfill a year in UK surfing alone. So it's a huge amount. So wetsuits usually last 2 years. There's no known recycling initiatives or to circularity in the wetsuit industry. So we created a job at Finisterre over 2 years ago now for a full-time wetsuit recycler. And it was quite exciting. I think she's the only full-time wetsuit recycler in the world. And her sole remit is to work out how to make wetsuits from wetsuits. And it's incredibly complicated. We got backing from a leading university, to help add some heavyweight scientific backing to it. But we haven't sorted it out yet, but we're just testing our first recycled wetsuit. And it's really, really trying to push boundaries, which personally excites me as founder.
Amazing.
Yeah. How about yourself?
For us, I love the titles we have in our businesses, wetsuit recycler. I'm transitioning from co-founder to chief fantasist, I think is what Elvis calls it.
Big dreamer.
So although we've been forging metal since the Bronze Age, right now there's very few people who forge metal using just the power from the sun. We've been able to do it since 1964, harnessing the sun through parabolic mirrors in France and melting steel, things like that. But nobody's doing it cheaply, safely, and in a distributed fashion. Okay. And that's why we have in the UK 13 million aluminum cans that get littered in our public spaces every year. And this ditch aluminum is lost, right? This is a material value that's lost. So selfishly, Elvis and I want to create this forge so that we can melt down the aluminum cans we found in our roadways and make our own belt buckles. Okay. But if we manage to do that, then, and it's an open source technology, we're developing it with a bunch of universities, but the idea behind it is that people could use it to heat their homes, cook their food, recycle plastic, all kinds of different things.
So it's a solar, just can you explain the technology, or it's a solar powered forge, is it?
Yeah, this is, I suppose, I can't even explain the technology yet. Right. The challenge is to produce a forge for under 500 pounds, and we're trialing lots of, we're trialing lenses, we're trialing mirrors, we're trialing all kinds of different things that might be available around the world. So it's one of these open-ended jobs where you don't necessarily know where you're going to get.
You don't know where you're going to go, but you feel as a business you need to commit to it and a duty to work it out. And I suppose that's why you're doing it, is it?
Yeah. And so why are you doing, what do you think pushes that?
I think it's very similar, actually. I think it's this, recognizing a problem in your field or in the world at large, and using the business as our outlook as a brand, as a business, to do something about it. And I think it's, we can sort of sit here and say we've worked it out, and we totally haven't. We're on a process, we're on a journey, and it's going to take a lot more time, but it's our role, our duty to kind of commit to working out that process and bringing about the change that I think is necessary. So I suppose that's similar for you.
It's the same. It's like nobody, I think we're tackling problems that, like, no one had solved the fire hose problem, so we've got to fix that. No one had solved the leather problem, so we fixed that. And now ditch aluminum is the next thing on our horizon, and I think that's often what B Corps and social enterprises do. You choose something to commit, however much time it takes to getting to the bottom of it. But there's a wider motivation too. Like, what's the wider motivation, just beyond wetsuit?
I mean, there's a wider motivation, I think, in the industry. I mean, the wetsuit industry is incredibly dirty. And I think it's the power of brands and businesses to affect change. And throughout all of our product, there's a story there that is relating to a better way of making product, be it merino wool or traceable merino wool, recycled polyester in our jackets. We did a collaboration with Vans Footwear about 3 weeks ago, where it's one of the biggest footwear brands out there, and it's their most sustainable shoe they've ever made, or range of shoes they've ever made, 3 shoes. And I think it was really the power of, don't underestimate your power as a business, as a brand, to be able to, affect change. And for us to push Vans, this huge brand, we're 60 people on the cliff in St Agnes with some stores around the country, to bring about that change is really, that's kind of why we're doing it. It's highly motivational to, we're on a journey, and we're going to keep on beating on those doors. Yes.
I mean, for us, it's exactly the same. If I look at, collaborating with other companies is really useful, because we all need to change faster. And I think there was a report issued a couple of years ago by something called the Union of Concerned Researchers in Fashion. And they said that actually, although there's been a lot of talk over the last 10 years about how we have to change, there's been no trousers, right? There's been no action. We're very, very good in fashion at celebrating complete mediocrity, okay? So it's a bit of a disaster there. And I think for us, we were like, we can't just talk about the circular economy, we have to deliver it, And if we exist, like Tom and I exist in a really destructive industry.
Highly destructive,
And the only way to prove that there's another future is to deliver one, to act in a different way, to just behave differently.
How about, we were just talking before we came on stage about the role of design in circularity, and for us it's about designing for circularity in a wetsuit. And then you've been speaking to quite high profile brands about if you can create something, and if it isn't circular or sustainable, it is actually destructive. So that's a really interesting point.
I think we need to strip designers of a title of creativity, or an idea that they might be creative. If the pace and the processes and what you're doing is effectively destroying the planet or exploiting its people, then are you in the creative sector? Are you a creator, or are you a destroyer? And I think if we started saying this is a destroyer, then we would get somewhere.
So lots of changes in everyone's business now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone creating products,
different job titles,
do it in the right way. And I think I suppose we talked also about the challenges when smaller businesses like ours go up against the world at large. The sort of challenges that you face. It'd be really interesting, I think, for people to hear what those are. And
I mean, the biggest challenge in the beginning was to convince. I objectively love garbage. I love it. I love the smell of it. I love piles of it. But to convince people to love fire hose the way that I loved fire hose took a lot of work. It took a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of design, a lot of convincing people. So there's like convention that you have to get beyond. And then there's this idea that we don't really exist on a level playing field. The businesses we're competing against, are exploiting people and destroying the environment. So how do we compete when the playing field isn't level? Which is when you are producing an amazing T-shirt and someone isn't.
Yeah, I mean, when our product is compared to product that is produced in one way, and we are committing everything, from being a B Corp right through to all of our production to doing it in the right way, transparency, sustainability, and you're being judged on a playing field where a T-shirt costs £4 and there will have been exploitation environmentally or societally on the way. Fact. How do that challenge is getting over to customers and to audiences that you are doing stuff in the right way, particularly from a small business. So it's just a constant challenge, but one we'll never stop, we'll never get beaten down on, and is our kind of walker, I suppose, in terms of letting people know the best way to make product, better way to make product.
And how do you communicate that to people when you've often got them for about 10 seconds? You have so little.
I mean, it's got pretty like surf actually. It's got easier. When you first started out, getting recycled polyester was 2,000 yards was really difficult.
Yeah.
And so people are starting to wake up to the model of circularity, of using waste as a resource. When you get something into the hands of a customer, it's about loving it and making sure that my favorite product is the product that I've had the longest. It's a bit of a joke at work. I always come in and stuff that's like about 8 seasons old, and people are like, why are you not wearing the new stuff?
Yeah.
And it's because it's been patched up or fixed up, and I have an emotive connection to that product, which means I'm going to look after it. So, and then it's about recycling at the end of it. And then I think we talked earlier about, when you find discovery, it's your aluminium can recycling, or it's us around wetsuit recycling. It's about making that open source so that you do contribute to society as a whole, not just exist in a microcosm as your own individual business benefit. Yeah,
and when it's this hard, because it's hard.
Yeah.
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? I think I get excited about being radical as a business and personally as well. I think that's and that's kind of probably a bit of a message for everyone, and everything that's going on in London these few weeks is everyone's being as radical as they possibly can be, and that's got to be encouraged through business or your own life. I think it's really exciting for businesses like ours being part of something that is gathering huge momentum, and this is this and why you guys are here. This is the right way that businesses should be run, and having a positive effect, and you're never too small not to make a change or affect a change. And me personally, it's the sea that really keeps me going. Whenever I'm in the sea, I'm alive. It gives me energy and reminds me of my place in the world, I feel. How about yourself?
Well, Elvis definitely keeps me going. That's one thing. And then there's there's the wider community. There's the B Corp community and the social enterprise community. Yeah. And I take a lot of energy from that. I've had a lot of mentorship from people in the room, and without that, and I suppose this open feeling like we might all get this done together, I think it would be a lot harder. But then there's just stuff like, I grew up in Canada and I saw bear all the time. I was camping in the Rockies as a little kid, and moose, I've seen moose in the wild. Yeah. And if I can't deliver that for other people's grandchildren, if I can't help the world to maintain some connection with like the raw power of nature, then I feel like I will have failed. And I suppose I often think about it like a debt, and it's a debt that I'll never repay. So all of the work that we do, and every morning I get up, I could look at the tally and say, we're not done yet. Okay. We're not done yet. Yeah. We're never done.
So never done, working it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Good.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Great
Thank
chat.
You. Yeah.